Man, you better stop playing on my top, man. Y'all know it's sport, man. I'm 10 toes down. I hold it down, stay solid, they hate it. Forward, to control, they quick, to break it. I'm a young G to skate it for license.
I guess at some point after the fact, the state wants to take a proffer from you or have a discussion with you, ask you some questions about whatever that may be.
He decides to flip and become a cheese eater.
As a mother, how did that make you feel?
It's heartbreaking. It made me feel completely helpless.
YNW Bortlen has just spoken out about his plea deal in the YNW Melly case. Before hearing his jail call, it's important to note that the Florida court system recently announced concerns for Bortlen's safety. The news reported today, as predicted, YNW Bortlen took the plea deal. He also agreed to a proffer, which means that he is talking. The sentence is to accessory after the fact, and he will do 10 years plus 6 years of probation minus any credit and gain time. We've already requested his deposition in the civil case. Alongside an email filed in the court records that read, "Given Mr. Henry's plea deal and proffer agreement, we request his deposition as soon as possible. Given the circumstances, we are concerned for his safety, so we would like to facilitate it in the next 30 days. Please advise if you continue to represent all of the defendants." Basically, the prosecutors believe YNW Bortlen might slip up in his cell block before he delivers the incriminating proffer against YNW Melly. This led to a message from Bortlen in jail, attempting to counter the claims in the email.
Man, you better stop playing on my top, man. Y'all know it's sport, man. I'm 10 toes down. I hold it down, stay solid, they hate it. Forward, to control, they quick, to break it. I'm a young G to skate it for license. But I look like taking the deal that hurt my. I look like giving a about how y'all feel. I'm a young fly, be back to raise and prevail. Damn, why they wanted to take that L? Don't you know you can see the dirt for even speaking that L? It's sport, the sport, name a part of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. YNW for L, never be stopped. Let's stop playing on my top like y'all know what the f going on, man. Hey, free me in, Melly. Boy.
This could be YNW Bortlen's way of trying to save his rap career, so that when he gets released, he won't carry the snitching label. DJ Academics breaks down what's really happening here. Academics wrote, "The judge says on both charges YNW Bortlen pled no contest. To that, he has to provide a factual basis for him to accept the plea. This means you have to tell a factual story of how you indeed committed accessory to the crime, which confirms the crime happened which YW Melly is charged with. This is a gun to bleed deal except with a proffer. He can't say yes, ma'am, he's got to sing like Franklin." As DJ Academics would further explain, it's a plea deal very similar to Gunna's.
Tweet out saying people are upset. I said, this is a Gunna plea. This is a Gunna plea. This isn't a plea saying you have to tell on him, but this is a plea that you're going to have to provide all the details that they were missing to convict him. And that's why it's a Gunna plea. Why do I say he signed a Gunna plea? Because YNW Melly, and I watched the case, we covered it. YNW Melly's case is that, number one, you guys have not done a job to prove that this is actually they have proved, but prove that this is a homicide with this person being the offender. Also, the accessory after the fact plea confirms that Bortlen, that's kind of like almost like a sub part of a conspiracy, except you weren't with the conspiracy at first. You came in after the fact. What that proved is that they came in. Oh my God, what that proved is that Bortlen worked with someone after he acknowledged that a took place in trying to cover it up. Do you hear what I just said? When pleading to an accessory to after the fact, you have to acknowledge that the happened and you assisted someone or in some way to cover the. Now, if Melly's statement is, how do we know that? And then secondly, how do we know who did? Because they said it was a drive-by.
An easier way to understand what the experts are saying is this. YNW Bortlen doesn't have to snitch on YNW Melly, but he is required to tell the prosecutors exactly how the crime happened, from his own perspective. He was inside the car when it occurred. Even if he never says Melly's name, describing how Sack Chaser and Juvie passed from inside the car will confirm that there was never a drive-by, and YNW Melly's defense will be in serious trouble. The prosecutors will be able to tell if he's being truthful in his proffer deal based on what happened during his sentencing. It was announced YNW Bortlen has agreed to a plea deal in exchange for his plea. He will be sentenced to 10 years in prison followed by 6 years of probation. He was facing multiple life sentences. But as part of his plea deal, Moreland agreed to tell everything he knows about the YNW Melly Dublin case. Even the judge admitted, "I don't know how your lawyers pulled this off."
And it's my understanding that you want to resolve both cases today. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that resolution is an agreement you've reached with the state, the terms of which are as follows. Number one, in the 19 case, you're going to plead no contest to both counts of accessory after the fact. In the 23 case, you're going to plead no contest to all 4 counts as charged. In exchange for that, the state is going to null that is drop the 2 first-degree. In exchange for that, I'm going to adjudicate you guilty on the 2 accessory counts as well as the tampering count. I'm going to sentence you to 10 years in Florida State Prison.
This is being called the greatest plea deal of all time, dropping from 5 life sentences down to just 10 years with time served. This led to headlines announcing Lil Wayne and Kodak Black's attorney. Bradford Cohen says YNW Bortlen has bit the cheese and is likely to flip on rapper YNWMelly after accepting plea deal in the Dublin case.
All right, let's talk YNW Melly and YNW Bortlen. He is now doing the triple Lindy. For those youngsters that don't know what the triple Lindy is, it is when you do several flips off a high dive, and he will be flipping. He is going to be tell-all about anything he knows about the double case, and they will know if he's telling the truth or telling a lie when he gives his full quote-unquote confession as to what happened that evening. And that's what happens. A lot of times where guys are in the prison for 4 or 5 years awaiting trial and looking at a life sentence, and they're offered 10 years where they'll be home probably in another 3 years that he'll serve, he decides to flip and become a cheese eater. And that's what happens a lot of times on these cases. And I was expecting it to happen a lot sooner than it did. He held out for quite some time. But long story short is it looks like he's going to flip. And it makes the case on YNW Melly, depending on what he says, which I anticipate he'll say that YNW Melly is responsible.
Even 6. X99 would write YNW Bortlen just accepted his plea deal with prosecutors. YNWMelly is cooked. I've been told you all about these rap guys years ago because they were scared of how big I was. Everyone singled me out, as even the judge told YNW Bortlen in the courtroom. The prosecutors are going to want him to give an interview.
Lastly, and I want to make it very clear on the record, and it's unrelated to this negotiated change of plea, I guess at some point after the fact, the state wants to take a proffer from you or have a discussion with you, ask you some questions about whatever that may be. What I want you to understand, sir, is I guess that's part of this negotiated resolution, but your answers to any of those questions, whatever they might be, have no bearing on me and have no bearing on this negotiated resolution. In other words, the deal you negotiated is the deal you negotiate, and that's the ballgame. Do you understand all that, sir? Have you had enough time to talk to your lawyers about all that? They've answered all your questions? You're sure that that's what you want to do?
This would end up resulting in offset tweeting. Damn, Melly really getting snitched on by his best friend. Free that boy. He's been locked up for way too long. However, Moreland did not have a choice. This was the prison sentence he was facing. Comment down below if you would have accepted the deal too.
Mr. Henry, do you understand the offer that the state is making to you? Okay, you're charged as follows. Counts 1 and 2 is the first degree with a firearm. Those are capital felonies, which means it's a mandatory life sentence. If the jury convicts you of count 1 or count 2 as charged, that's life in Florida State Prison. I have no discretion. Count 3 and count 4 are accessory after the fact to the first degree. Those are each first degree felony. The maximum penalty for each of those is 30 years in Florida State Prison. Count 1 is tampering with a witness in a capital felony. That is punishable by life in Florida State Prison. Is directing the activities of a criminal. That's a first degree felony punishable by life. So the maximum penalty there is also life in Florida State Prison. Count 5 is conspiracy to commit tampering. And again, as it's charged, that is also a life felony. As to all the charges that you're facing, the maximum possible penalties are as follows. Life in Florida State Prison, followed by 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 75 years in Florida State.
They're crafting a plea deal with YNW Bortlen for 3 key reasons. First, YNW Melly and his own lawyer literally snitched on Bortlen during the original trial. What most people don't realize is that Melly's lawyer had already pinned the crime on Bortlen.
Those were his lies. Cortland Henry shows up at Memorial Hospital, Miramar. You don't see him sitting there, but where you will see him sitting is in the driver's seat of a car with 2 bodies, car riddled with bullets. And when he shows up with a change of clothing, change of shirt, powder residue on his hands, evidencing that he had discharged a firearm. And he lies. He lies about where the incident occurred. He lies about how it occurred. And he lies about not having the phone. I think it was Miss Bradley herself who said, everybody has a phone in his pocket, not Cortland Henry.
Melly's lawyer told the jury that it was Bortlen who was lying to the feds. He was the one with powder residue on his hands, and he was the last person with juvie and sack chaser when they passed. They even brought in a forensic scientist who examined the scene in detail, explaining exactly how Bortlen ended up with the powder residue.
So the right hand of Cortland Henry contained 0 particles characteristic of hot residue and 2 two-component particles. And the left hand contained 1 particle characteristic of hot residue and 1 two-component particle.
Okay. And can you explain to us what that means?
Basically, overall, there was hot residue present on the hands.
What most people don't know is that this was the last time Melly and Bortlen ever spoke. When Melly's mistrial was granted, a report revealed, Bortlen tweets a mysterious message on the same day Melly's mistrial was declared, tweeting, "Mind games don't work on people like me," alongside a handshake emoji as if he's accepting some sort of deal. Fast forward a few years, and he finally accepted the plea deal. But what most people don't know is that on the very night of the crime, Bortlen faced an intense interrogation. The officer straight up asked him, "If you know who did this crime, would you tell me?"
Like just telling me the truth, even if it's something that I don't want to hear, but I respect the truth rather than BS, okay? And it's a simple question. If you knew who did this, okay? You may or may not know. If you knew who did this, would you tell me? It's either a yes or no question. Answer.
Honestly?
Yeah, honestly. The truth. You wouldn't?
Because I wouldn't want to be a part of that. I wouldn't want to be.
Bortlen doesn't even give a clear yes or no with his voice. He just shakes his head no. And here's why that matters. If Melly had committed the crime, Bortlen would know it. Saying no under such intense pressure would have made his voice crack or change in volume compared to the rest of the interrogation, a classic sign of lying. To the police, this was a clear signal that Bortlen never wanted to be involved. He knew exactly what happened and just wanted out. The feds already had evidence of YNW Melly admitting to it. They just needed Bortlen to confirm it.
The PT Gambino account asked him if he was okay, and his response was, "I did that," and placed a smiley face emoji.
And the next message from 10/26/2018 at 16:02 from Eastern Standard Time. The YNW Melly account says what?
After that, SHHHH.
But with Bortlen securing the plea deal and not YNW Melly, this was a devastating blow for Melly. Still, he was overly confident about his upcoming retrial. In fact, he even ordered a $100,000 chain from behind bars, planning to wear it if he managed to beat the case again.
I would assume
still,
that he spent a lot of money on lawyers. Like an amount that would probably...
That kid spent a lot of money on a lot of things that shouldn't have been spent on.
Really? Like what else?
And cars, jewelry. And he's not even out to wear the jewelry. I'm like, why are you buying jewelry? You're not here to wear the jewelry.
No, definitely lawyers are probably the best thing you can spend.
That's what bro. But yeah. He's good with lawyers, bro. Like, money ain't an issue for lawyers. Like, he's fine, but it's just like, there was a lot of stuff that should have went to lawyers that he didn't spend on lawyers. And I'm like, bro. And now it's like, he don't even want the chain no more.
But things get even more explosive when you find out how the prosecutors actually set up the plea deal with YNW Bortlen. It all began when the news reported, Wells' double retrial has been postponed once again. During the hearing on Friday, the 4th District Court of Appeals granted a stay in the case, allowing time to consider a motion by the state attorney's office. The stay means the trial will not begin in September and has been pushed back into January of 2027. Now, with the trial delayed, they struck a deal with YNW Bortlen, dragging out YNW Melly's case for over a year, just so they had enough time to lock in that plea agreement with Bortlen. And before the plea deal was even finalized, the news was already reporting it. And no communication order has been filed in the YNW Melly trial. The order makes Melly and Bortlen completely separate. No talking, no lawyer talk, just silence. The prosecutor's plan the entire time was simple: force Bortlen to give up information on YNW Melly.
Issue here, and you can try them together. It is to the benefit of the state to try them together. It's just more efficient. You don't have to do things again and again. Do it all at once, and also you get a better chance of having them incriminate each other during the trial. It benefits the defense to sever it. That way they can point the finger at each other and get away with it. So this is what's going on. But I don't think it should be automatically severed because the state is seeking a penalty for Melly, because it's only the penalty phase of the trial that would be different, not the guilt phase. Guilt phase, it's the same. They're both capital crimes. You're seeking the penalty on one, not the other. But that goes into the second part of the trial, the penalty phase, only if Melly is found guilty.
Having Bortlen on their side greatly increases the chance of finding Melly guilty in the next trial, as all he needs to do is confirm the evidence in his plea deal, pointing out where certain things were and where certain people were sitting, and Melly is finished. But what makes this even more concerning is that Bortlen has every single reason to snitch against Melly because of what investigators uncovered inside his home.
Melly's co-defendant YNW Bortlen was booked into a Miami jail Monday night and is being held behind bars on an out-of-county warrant. We just confirmed the warrant is out of Broward County for witness tampering. The warrant obtained by Law and Crime Network states as follows. On or about April 10, 2023, continuing through and including July 22, 2023, Cortland Henry, aka Bortlen, along with others, did unlawfully and knowingly engage in misleading conduct toward another person with the intent to cause or induce them to withhold testimony. The warrant continues the alleged witness had been summoned by the legal process to the jury trial of Jamel Dimmons, aka YNW Melly. The dates in the warrant are important. Jury selection for Melly started in mid-April, and a judge declared a mistrial on July 22nd, the same day the warrant claims Bortlen allegedly tampered with the witness.